first one for this year. We have a great group of teachers. We have a lot of them, so I'm super excited to hear what they have to tell us. But first, welcome Allison. She has some devos that she's going to share with us.
Hey guys, my name's Allison, and I was asked to do devos today, so it's just going to be really quick. Something that I've been challenged to do recently is to cultivate an unoffendable heart. I worked at summer camp for the past 2 summers, and so that's something that my team really focused on because we lived together for 10 weeks, and so when you're with one group of people, eating together, working together, living together for 10 weeks, it can get really intense with drama if you're not really careful. So basically what an unoffendable heart is just having the ability to let the small things go, just to let things roll off your back, and just have things run smoothly between everyone, and not taking things personally. It's not being a doormat for people to walk on, but it is centered in finding our identity and security in God and just letting Him protect our hearts from ourselves and from other people when they can hurt us sometimes. It's something that I'm working on in platonic relationships and in my romantic relationship. It's casual, but whatever. And it's really something that we can take into the workforce, and it'll set a high standard for the people around us. It means that we won't stoop to gossip or breed resentment because that creates a really toxic environment for us and for our students. And people can really sense that when you walk into a room. So it's just so important to have an unoffendable heart and just to let the small things go. So Colossians 3:12 through 15 says, "Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you are called to peace, and be thankful." So most of us go into the public school setting, and we're not really allowed to openly share the gospel there. That's just not something that we can do. But this is something that will make us different from everyone else. People notice it. It will set us apart. And so it's really hard, but it is completely worth it. And if we do this and encourage other people to do this, it can really change the atmosphere that we live in. So let's pray together. Father God, thank you so much for today and for the blessing that it has been. And thank you for your grace that covers all of us. God, help us to learn more about you tonight. Help us to glorify you and help us to love other people and have undefendable hearts. We love you so much, and it's in your Son's name that we pray. Amen.
All right, so some announcements. These are TELL cabinet members. They've been doing a great job this year. If you're not a member, make sure to go back to the table, ask them, how do I sign up? They will help you with that. They have a little paper that you're going to fill out. It costs $10 to TELL, and if you want to buy a shirt right after you become a member, it'll just be $5 extra. Oh, and there it is. Okay. So we have a couple of positions that will be opening up for next year. A lot of our cabinet members who are seniors will be graduating, moving on with their lives, and we would like them to be filled. So I know you guys received these 2 pieces of paper. It's a blue one and a white one. The white one talks about the actual positions, what you're supposed to do, and basically like your job in that position. And then the blue one is if you feel like you would do a great job at this position, go ahead and write your name, your email address, and just go ahead and check whichever ones you would like to be a part of off. And these are our upcoming TELL meetings. March 9th will be our last official TELL meeting, and we're going to talk about ESL and IEP students. We're going to have a couple of our former teachers as well as professors come and talk to us about how they interact with students like that and how they help them learn. And then our banquet is on April 12th. It's at 5:30, and we're going to have Dr. Butler, who's sadly going to be leaving us, as well as Dr. Rader, who's sadly also going to be leaving us. But they're going to come and speak to us, which is going to be exciting. We have an amazing idea of creating a little fun atmosphere about like books and literature, and we are allowing you guys to bring dates. So if you want to bring a date, you're more than welcome to. We're going to have great food. We're going to have a lot of fun games. It's going to be exciting. So go ahead and put those on your calendars. All right. So today's seminar is, we're going to be talking about first week of school, end of school, and setting up your first classroom. I know a lot of us are asking that question, especially those that are leaving, like, oh my gosh, I've never actually started out with the classroom. I don't know how to set up my classroom or set up guidelines, set up rules. So this is going to hopefully calm our little nerves. And we're going to start out by, I'm just going to introduce one by one, and they're going to talk a little about what they have noticed and how it's been helpful to be able to be a part of classroom and what has helped them to be a better teacher. So first up is Miss Landon. She teaches English 2 and yearbook / journalism, and is at West Jessamine High School. This is her 5th year at West, and she currently serves on their school site-based council.
So hi everyone, I recognize a few faces in here. When I first started teaching, I didn't know what kind of technology I was going to have in my classroom. They said originally, oh yeah, of course you're going to have a smart board, or at least a projector, and then it was like, actually you'll have a whiteboard. And so, coming from Asbury, where it's really encouraged to use technology, I was like, okay, this is not going to be great. So really you have to advocate for yourself and pester people without being rude to get that technology in your classroom, or what you need to have in your classroom. So you also want to make friends with the tech people, the janitors, and the secretary. So that is really great advice. I forget who told me that first, but those are your go-to people, and they're going to be your BFFs in school. And so those people really helped me get set up in my classroom because I had nothing. So had the worst room, the worst desk, you name it. New teacher, they didn't expect me to stay very long. They're like, oh, you're too nice, you're not going to stay, we'll just put you in here. And so you really have to speak up for yourself, and if you need something, you're not going to get it by just sitting there politely and just pretending like you can deal without it. You need a projector, you need things that will help you on your first day. And some other things that I learned in classroom management, you want to have name tags or little, like a chart on the board saying where everyone's going to sit. Letting kids pick their seats the first day of school is absolutely like a nightmare. Never do that. And so they may be really, especially if you have high school, they may be kind of disgruntled that you have assigned seats on the first day, but that shows them that you are organized and you have everything together, having your rules, your procedures, everything to talk through on the first couple days. Everything that you learn in your classes, actually it really comes to fruition the first couple days. And I'll tell you, having nightmares the first couple weeks before school, that's really normal. Just so if you have dreams that you don't have any desks, or that you forgot all of your syllabi at home, or that you walk in and everyone hates you, like that's normal. So I actually woke up one time, I fell asleep, and my friend said I woke up and I was sleep talking. I'm like, did anyone take roll? Like I was just really, really anxious about this. So it's totally normal to be nervous. You just can't let anyone else know that you're nervous. So whatever you can do to hide that. Like I still don't like the first day of school, and I've done it 5 times because I need to know the students' names. So on Infinite Campus, like they have their picture by their name. If they don't have their picture, they're not listed, I start to panic. I'm like, I can't memorize their name, I don't know who they are. Any way you can to study them and get to know them before they are in your classroom, the better. Some teachers have the philosophy that they come in with a clean slate. Other teachers want to know about the kids before they get them. I would say for seating chart purposes and for your sanity, you might want to ask about a few students. Ask the teachers that had them beforehand, be like, hey, are there any kids that, you know, need to be sat over here away from other children, or that are going to be hard to handle, that I need to start building rapport right away. So I would, especially in the high school setting, find out who those kids are, so on the first day of school you can set them way far away from each other, because then they don't have a chance to make your life miserable on the very first day. So that's my quick advice.
Awesome, thank you. All right, our next one is Miss, is it Du Bois? Awesome. She graduated from Asbury with an elementary education degree along with Spanish minor in 2012. She student taught overseas at an international school in Panama and did the other part of her student teaching at Wilmore Elementary. Has taught at Nicholasville Elementary for the past 3.5 years, starting with 2 years of first grade. Last year she moved to 3rd grade, and this year she is teaching a 2nd and 3rd grade split class. And the website that she has down here, you guys can jot this down.
It's actually on the white sheet.
Oh,
as well.
even better. It's on the white sheet. You guys can look that up, and she actually wrote a blog about her first days. So
Nice.
So I will tell you right from the start that my first year was terrible. So all of those nightmares that Katie talked about, that was like my first year throughout the whole thing. It got better, so I don't want to like scare anyone away from teaching, because now in my 4th year I wouldn't be doing anything else. There are still days that are super tough and days that I question whether or not this is something that I'm supposed to be doing. But I just want you to know up front if that's you, because I guarantee you there will be some of you in this room that that experience is true for. Don't worry. Like, you're gonna make it, and you would need to ask for support. Like Katie was saying, you need to ask for help, ask for resources, use the people around you, pray with your friends, ask your family to pray for you. I literally have never prayed more in my life than I prayed that first year of teaching, and it was so good. I would pray every single day on the way to school, like, Lord, help me to have patience. Lord, help me to, know what to do with these kids, because I just didn't know. And I don't blame Asbury for that. I had a really great education. I think there's just nothing like stepping into your own classroom, and there's nothing like having your own set of kids. Student teaching will prepare you in some ways, but there's some things that you can't even learn from student teaching. I think one of the biggest things is just the amount of work that there is. It's not only cleaning lessons, it's not only grading, it's also communicating with parents, it's filling out RTI forms, doing behavior monitoring, and doing academic monitoring throughout the week. There's tons of paperwork, there's emails, there's social media things to be updated, and I don't want to overwhelm you because it is manageable, but I also just want you to know up front how tough it is. Like, if you want to do a good job at it, you definitely have to dedicate some time. A couple of things I think though that I learned my first year is if you don't take time for yourself, if you don't take time to set boundaries, you are going to burn out pretty quickly. And I know you guys have probably heard that before, but I think that that's really, really important, is having balance. And I remember reading, I think in Ron Clark in Classroom Management, about how if you don't have a life, you don't have anything to share with your kids. So if your whole life is teaching, you aren't going to have experiences to share with them, and that's what makes your job so meaningful and so worthwhile. That is huge. I think also just giving yourself grace, giving yourself time. Nobody becomes good at something overnight, and so you can't expect to be the best when you first walk in. Like Katie was saying, kind of fake it until you make it. You have to be confident, and I think that was one thing that when I walked in, I wasn't really confident, and so I think that is something that led to me having a little bit of a hard first year. I think identifying students right away that are going to need your extra help and need extra support. I had a really tough group of kids my first year, and that was also part of the reason. Also, Nicholasville Elementary was going under construction, and so we were in the primary center, which was the unfinished part of the village, which was an old middle school in Jessamine County. And we had foldable walls in our classrooms. I was in a middle classroom, So I had 2 walls that like opened into other teachers' classrooms, and so the noise level was insane. And it was first grade, so they were just, you know, wild. And it was kind of great because like you could peer into your like co-teacher's classroom. Like if I heard someone yell in my friend's classroom, I would like look in and be like, hey, everything okay? So we had each other's backs, which was really great. But I think a combination of a bunch of things made that year tough. So yeah, definitely give yourself grace, give yourself time. Come up with a system for organizing papers to grade, to come up with a system for organizing your RTI and your monitoring. Coming up with a weekly schedule was huge for me. Once I did that and sat down and wrote down like, okay, this is what I do on Mondays, this is what I do on Tuesdays, this is what I have to get done on Wednesdays, and listed it out, that was super helpful. And stick with that plan because that's going to enable you to create boundaries. Also, the big thing that I would say to teach on your first day is your attention grabber. So teach your kids how you're going to get their attention as soon as they walk into the room. After they're settled, teach them how you get their attention. I do class yes, and so I say class somehow, they say yes. And I'll say it in different ways. So I'll say class, class, class. They'll have to respond yes, yes, yes. If you change it up, it makes them laugh, and it also makes them like stay on their toes so that you aren't doing the same thing every time. And I also think I planned a lot of fluff for the first couple of days, especially in elementary. It's really tempting to plan all the fun, you know, like back to school activities. Definitely have some of those, the kids like them. Do not make that your day. Go over routines, go over procedures. It's going to be boring and it's kind of going to stink, but it's so worth it to do it those first couple of days. And tell the kids, like I'm honest with my kids, I say, we're going over this, I'm going to be teaching you how to do this, we're going to practice it until we get it right, and then after this time, we're going to have a time of doing a fun read aloud or doing a fun, you know, first day jitters activity or something like that. So definitely write out like every single procedure. It seems, you know, super ridiculous, but it will definitely benefit you in the long run. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. All right, our next teacher is Miss Slusher. Yes. Awesome. She is a 2-time Asbury grad, earned her undergrad degrees in elementary education in LBD in 2009, then earned a master's degree in teacher as leader in 2014. She's married with 2 children, an 18-month-old and then a little boy who's due in April. And she teaches kindergarten at the Jessamine Erling Learning Village and is currently in her 6th year of teaching.
Yes. Okay, so that's my handout. You're gonna get this lovely bright yellow handout. It has clip art and fun fonts. I teach kindergarten, I'm sorry. These girls have said like a lot of things on here, but something I did after my first year of teaching, I pulled out my laptop on like the last day of school and I just wrote down things that I had learned my first year. And I pulled that up when I was asked to speak here and just reflected on the things as a first year teacher that I learned. And now looking back at it, you know, 5 years later, so many things are still true. So the first thing that I put on my top 10 tips is ask for help. Like they were saying, you know, you have to advocate for yourself, but more than that, you're not going to know how to do everything. And it's okay to ask for help. I know a lot of times as teachers, we are very much perfectionists and we want to prove ourselves and we want to prove that we know what we're doing and that we can do a good job. But it is okay to ask for help. Hopefully you will be in schools where you'll have coworkers and colleagues and administrators that you can go to and ask for help. But don't be afraid to do that when you don't know how to do something. Number 2, I said treat everyone with respect and kindness no matter what. Something that I did my first year of teaching, I got a little full of myself because I knew a lot of people, a lot of my coworkers were Asbury grads, and I just thought, well, you know, I'm an Asbury grad, I know how to do this, and I have great preparation, and you know, I'm great at classroom management, and you've got to watch yourself, choose your words very carefully, and treat everyone with respect, even if you disagree with them, even if they're rude to you, even if you have a parent who is emailing you and calling your principal about you and you don't even know why. Treat everyone with kindness and respect. You want to build those relationships with your coworkers, with parents, kids, with everyone in your school, in your county. That's super, super important. It's professionalism. It's also part of being a Christian. That's number 3 too. Build relationships with everybody. Super important. It will help you in the long run when you have a favor, you have a question, you need something. Those relationships are going to come back and they're going to help you. Number 4, intentionally teach everything. I teach kindergarten, so my first day of school is, little boys, let's go into the bathroom. This is a urinal. Here's what we do here. Little girls, this is a potty. This is how we use the potty. I mean, it's not going to be that way for you secondary folks and you guys teaching. Hopefully. But the main thing with that is you can't hold your kids accountable for something that you've not taught them how to do, period. Whether that's how to use the potty or whether it's how to take a test. You've got to teach everything and be very specific about those routines and procedures. Make it fun, make it a scavenger hunt, make it a game, whatever you got to do to get through those days, but you've got to teach those procedures because your world will fall apart if you don't. Number 5, I said set the bar high. And I know you guys, we're told at Asbury all the time, hold high expectations for all children. And it's so important though. Whether you have a kiddo who, may have an IEP and might be dealing with a mental disability, or whether you have a kid who knows everything, figure out what high expectations look like for that child, and then you go with it. If you've got a kid who is not being challenged on their level, they're going to get bored, and they're going to cause behavior problems, and you're going to have a really difficult time. So figure out what high is for every child and do it. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it, and you'll thank yourself later for that. Number 6, these girls touched on this one again. Learn about balance. Your first year is going to be really, really hard. I spent probably every single Sunday, my first year teaching at school, 6 or 7 hours. I would leave church, get a bite of lunch, and then go to school until it was dark outside and work on stuff for the week. Don't do that to yourselves. Please don't do that to yourselves. I know especially a lot of ed majors, when you graduate, you get married, and then you launch into your first year of teaching. You've got to foster those relationships with your family, with your friends, for yourself, and you've got to balance work and home. Something that I've had to tell myself over and over and over again, no matter how long you stay at school, when you leave, you're going to have something in your brain, and you're going to get home and you're like, oh, I didn't do that, or oh my gosh, I've got this, this, and this to do tomorrow. It will always be that way. You will always have a list of things that you want to get done, and you'll never get done with everything. So figure out what you have to do. Make yourself a list, leave it on your desk, and go home. Please, you will thank yourself for it later. Number 7, I said pray for your kids every day. Lots of first days, first weeks, first months, crying and praying all the way to school. God, I don't know what I'm gonna do if they give me another kid today, or what if this kid blows up today, or what if this mom is waiting at my door and she's mad? What if this kid's not at school today? I don't know where they are. I don't know what's going to be going on in their life. Pray for your children. That it sounds very cliche, and it sounds like that the Asbury thing to say, but it's so powerful. There have been so many nights, even this year, where I've just had a kid on my heart from another year of teaching, and I've just felt the Lord put them on my heart. Pray for them, because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know where they are. You don't know what might be happening to them. So just take time to ask the Lord to intercede and intervene in their lives. Number 8, bite your tongue. A lot of times it'll be very tempting to snap, either at a kid who's just pushed every single button that you have, or whether it's the teacher who's come into your room to gossip about so-and-so from down the hall for the 5th time that day, or whether it's your principal or whoever. Choose your words very carefully, because your words have a really significant impact on your kids, on their parents, on your coworkers. choose to be a voice of encouragement. Lift your coworkers up. Be a positive person. If you think something negative, just hold it inside and don't say it, because your words have a really significant impact on your presence at school. Number 9, humility goes a long way. You don't know it all. After your first year, you're going to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm a completely different teacher. Like, I know so much more now. And that's great. But don't start your second year thinking you know it all, because you won't. And you'll have a whole other group of kids, a whole other group of challenges. So just take a step back and go with humility. Be willing to accept advice and correction from whoever may offer it to you. And lastly, have fun. Because you're going to have those days where the fire alarm goes off and there's a malfunction. So it's like the 5th time it's gone off. And then you've got a kid who's barfed on the carpet, and this kid's over in the corner, he's peed on the floor, and you got, like announcements every 5 minutes, and you're stopping what you're doing. And it sounds nuts, but I've had days like that.
Let's see. You want a class culture, build on your kids' strengths. There are a lot of kids that don't want to be at the school. So you got to figure out what works for them. What makes that kid special? Because if you look at that kid just as a score, it's going to be a rough year. It's going to be a really rough year. So you got to find something in that kid that you can build on. Whether it's sports or movies, something that you can work from that's a positive thing. Start brainwashing your kids early, and what I mean by that is you can convince them of what you want them to be. Oh my goodness, I'm so lucky that I got the smartest class this year. I don't know how it happened, and they will rise to that expectation. You got to start brainwashing. Oh man, my class, we just always walk the best in the hallway. That's just something we do. You guys just show it again and again, and they live up to that. So start brainwashing them early that yes, they really are what you think they are. Okay. One nice thing I do is I have them write to themselves in the beginning of the year, and then they look at that at the very last day. And that's a neat thing, and they see, and I'm a writing teacher too, so they see just how their writing has improved as well. But it's also a good thing for you to do with yourself too. I wrote a note to myself my first year, and then at the end of the year I read it. And I was really different, really different. So I would recommend that. Get the parents on board. Custodian, talked about that. Let's talk about the principal a second. What is the principal thinking? Principal is thinking, do they want to see you in the hallway next year? They're thinking, is this person a good person for the ensemble of the teaching team? Do they fit in? They're thinking that. And also, do they bring scores? Can't get around the scores. Be okay with being observed. Pick your battles. Figure out the culture of your school and how to score. Let's see. This was a big one for me. Understand the rhythm of the year. Teaching has a certain rhythm to it. And your first year, I think it's so tough because you don't know what to expect. So here's my little 2 cents of what to expect. In the fall, this is for elementary anyway, in the fall it's all fun. Everything's new, everybody's happy, everybody's got a ton of energy off of the summer. Christmas time is all about math, score for us anyway, is how do the kids do on math? And then everything turns from there.
What's math?
Math? Oh, it's their testing in reading and math.
You'll love it.
Yeah, it's a blast. And the kids, yeah, emotions rise during that time. So they take their math test, and then from that, everything turns. If they did well, great, you keep rocking. If they did not do so well, compared to how they were last year, if you did not show growth, things turn another way. Okay, so that's just the rhythm of teaching. And they don't know how well you're doing until they see that score. So in the fall, you got all this great grace time, but come Christmas, you know, be ready. Bam, there it is. And then January and February is the long, long, long time with no break.
Except for snow days.
Except for snow days, which are
A blessing.
freakishly awesome, yeah. And then March on, you're just all in the mode for test. Everybody's looking at this big test, and the tenseness level raises dramatically at that time because people are concerned about their jobs at their time. Who's coming back next year? It's amazing the turnover rate that I think I was shocked at that. So.
Can you talk just a second, you mentioned earlier about getting the parents on board. Can you talk a little bit about a few things you do to draw the parents in?
Yeah, a big thing is making a phone call. I try to make a phone call to each parent. And if I know there's going to be a bad kid in my class, I make that phone call early because I have to find them with something good. Because it might be later that I'm ready to call home with, you know, we need to talk seriously. So I think that's been a big thing, is make a positive phone call early in the year. It goes really, really far. Get them signed up with Class Dojo.
You say that as though they know what that is. Some of them will, but some of them won't.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's an app, and it's a behavior app where if they do well, you give them a dojo point. If they need discipline, you take away a point, and you set up what the criteria is, and it goes into the computer, and the parents can feed into it. It's really
so if I
amazing.
want it, how do I get that? Where do I learn more about that?
Look it up, Dojo, Class
D-O-J-O.
Dojo.
Yeah, just
Class
search it on Google.
Yeah, something like that.
You can use it for
I don't-
attendance, for behavior management.
Yeah,
just
it's
positive
worked like a
for-
charm
Yeah.
for us. And then set up your own website or something, but I think trust with parents is huge. A lot of parents don't want to be at school. You know, not only the kids don't want to be there, but the parents don't even want to be there. So you're kind of always working upstream with parents, but the more they feel confident in you, if something goes wrong with their kid, they'll more than likely give you the benefit of the doubt. So get them on board early.
I have a class Facebook page too, which
Yeah.
you can, with the privacy settings on Facebook especially, that's been really helpful for helping my parents feel connected to what we're doing in the classroom. And then another great tool that I use with my parents is Remind 101.
Yeah.
FYI, if you don't know what that is, Remind
Yeah.
101 is free. You can do an app on your phone. And it's a way to anonymously text parents about classroom events. Hey, FYI, we've got a field trip coming up on Friday. Make sure you've sent them this thing to school, yada, yada, yada. It's free. They don't get your phone number. It's just a blank, it doesn't say who it's from. It just.
Yeah, and a lot of kids don't get their pieces of paper. Like you send all these papers home.
Right.
I look in their mailboxes, they're like, oh my goodness, you haven't sent anything home from
Yeah.
November, so.
And parents may not even read what you send on the
Right.
backpack, FYI. They probably won't read half of what you send home.
But they will
But they'll
read
read
the
a
text
text.
every
Yeah.
day, you bet.
Yeah.
You bet.
And you can text individual parents, or you can send out group reminders. So that's been really awesome. They just added the chat feature this
Yes.
year, and that's
Yeah.
been really, really great
it's
because
free.
lots of our parents won't be on they won't get on a class website, unfortunately,
Yeah.
even if you make one, so you getting to them is really important.
And then I'll just close up here. I wrote down, know your strengths. Know what you bring to the table, and also know your weaknesses. I'm Mr. Creative Artistic guy. I am not Mr. Organization. So I need an organizational person on my team, but they need me for the ideas and the building of the community. So know what you're bringing to the table. And also, I think you need to establish now, why are you doing this in your heart of hearts? Because you're going to have some dark days. And during those dark days, you're going to have to go back to base one. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm doing this. So that's all I got to say.
I have a question. You said that you have the students write letters to themselves. What kind of stuff do you have them write? Like their goals or?
Goals, yeah. And a lot of them are nervous, you know, the first day. So I have them talk about that. And I say, I don't read them. I don't read them. But I want them to, I think it's good for them to get it out.
It's a way for them just to express.
Express, yeah.
Alright, we have about 15 more minutes, so if you
I'm
could keep
sorry.
it, it's fine, it's okay, it's been great, but if we could keep it a little brief so that you can hear from everyone else, that would be great. Next one that we have is Mr. Harvey. He graduated from Asbury in 2011 and has been teaching for 4 years at Lafayette High School in Lexington. He's worked as an education blogger for the Center for Teaching Quality, which is like a participant in the Common Assignment Study, and it's a collaboration with teachers across Kentucky and Colorado in creating common units. And he's also a project leader for the next generation of instructional design.
He was also the president of TELL.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I actually do work with with the next generation stuff. But I'm a social studies history teacher, so I tell stories. So I'll start with a story. I'll try to keep it short. So I am originally from Maryland, and so when I graduated in December. And so when I moved back to Maryland in the spring and I applied in Fayette County, I sort of just sent in a general application. I didn't apply into any specific schools. I got a phone interview at Carter G. Woodson, which was a new sort of program that was opening up, and didn't get that. And at the time, I was going to be engaged soon. At least in my mind, it worked out, so that's all good. So I was like, maybe I'll just stay in Maryland because my fiance was in Maryland and she was studying to be a teacher at the time and she was going through a master's. So I was like, I'll just stay here. I had a job at a real estate office. So life was okay. I was like, I can use the teaching degree in a little bit. Didn't need right away. But then June 27th, I get a call from Lafayette High School. They're like, we'd like to interview you in 2 days. And I'm like, I'm in Maryland and I'm working and I really can't, but they're like, well, we can just do an interview. So I was like, that's fine. And long story short, got the job through this phone interview. I'd never been in the school building ever, never talked to anyone at the school ever. So that just kind of, for those of you who are worried about applying for jobs, God has a plan. And so you just have to kind of trust that that plan is, and everything worked out. And wife got married and she moved down later and we worked it all. Yeah, God has awesome power. So anyway, I start, I don't actually have my own classroom at the high school level. I did in my first year, I do now. But I was floating from different classrooms with a cart, so I had to have all of my materials on a cart, which is just fun times. And then that was on my A day, so in high school, A day, B day. So the B day, I shared a classroom with another teacher, so she was sort of always in the background. So it made it kind of interesting. I didn't have to set up my own space, which was a plus, but on the downside, I didn't have my own sort of stuff. And so it took some time to figure out, like, what's that going to look like? Because some rooms had tables and some rooms had desks, and they were arranged differently, and you couldn't really move them. So I know, like, when you take the classroom management class, they teach you, like, positioning and grouping, and yeah, that was just really hard to do my first year. But I do remember one of the first things I had to deal with, I was 20 at the time, and I had a fifth-year senior who was 19. So that was lots of fun. And he's like taller than I am, and I was like 150, and he's like 220. It's like, yeah, I don't know, that looks like a cigarette behind your ear. Can we talk about that? But you know, he did, and so and like what he was going through in life. We just had a nice little chat, and so like the first thing that I would recommend is just sort of getting to know your kids, showing them that you care, you know, and you never know how that's going to manifest itself. This spring has been really hard at our school. We had 3 former students who just graduated, or 2 former students who just graduated this past spring, and 1 current student that I had that all passed away. So that was like really, really tough in the building. And I had the one student, his brother I currently have, and so you just never know when that rapport is going to matter. So building that early and often, and really just showing that you care, because a lot of these kids, they know that you have 100, at the high school level, you have 180 sometimes students, but just pointing out to each kid every day somehow, something small, it doesn't have to be big, but just pointing out something like, oh, you got your hair cut, or that's a nice scarf, or whatever that might be, just to show them that you care, and then you'll get buy-in, I think, faster than anything, classroom management-wise. Then they're more likely to listen to you and sort of respect you, even though you may be young coming out. And they know that, and they smell blood in the water, and they will attack sometimes. But you know, just yeah, stay calm and carry on. The thing that I had handed out, just because sometimes it's hard to sort of get a feel for exactly like what does it look like. Here are our end of school procedures. This is from last year. It's kind of overwhelming. It was kind of a lot my first year, but it's just sort of the paperwork, and it just sort of gives you an idea, I feel like, of that level of just, it's nothing major. I mean, it's nothing that you really even have to teach in the class, but it's just things you have to do, and it gives you an idea of like what that looks like. Sometimes it's hard to imagine. And I remember the first day I was teaching a bunch of freshmen government, and it's like, what? Where's the supervisor? Where's the supervising teacher? Like who's? And then you like remember, oh yeah, that's right. It's just me. And so kind of as they said, you have to pretend that you know what you're doing, even if you don't. I really didn't. But that's really important. Also, I'd say finding a mentor. I know that they have K-Tip, which can not be so fun, although they've changed it a little, so it's not as bad. But just finding someone in the building that you can trust, go to asking for help. That's really been helpful. That opened a lot of doors for me. And also PLCs, the professional learning communities, it's usually within your cluster. So like there's a government PLC, and I'm sure that there's 5th grade or kindergarten PLCs that get together as a group that teach the same thing, and you get together and lesson plan. So I walked in thinking I was teaching, like I didn't know anyone, walked in August 3rd, school starts August 15th, didn't know what I was teaching. I thought I was teaching government, like all government, and then I get there that day, August 3rd, and they say, oh, actually you're teaching U.S. history for half of your time. So just be ready for change, be ready to be reflexive, and I don't know, just it'll be a blast. Good luck. Yeah.
All right, our next teacher is Ms. Olson. She was raised in Wilmore, Kentucky, and always wanted to be a teacher. This has been basically a dream that she has been able to remember ever since she was young. She never thought she would go to Asbury, but she always wanted to go to an out-of-state private Christian college, but Lord had other plans. She ended up loving her experience and just graduated this past May of 2015. She has a job here at Wilmore Elementary School, which is the school she went to growing up. And she says it has been an honor so far, and the Lord has really blessed her with her lifelong dream of teaching.
Hello everyone. I know a lot of you guys because I was just here last May sitting in your seats. Really quick before you guys leave, I would say for setting up classroom, my situation was a little bit different. I came into a classroom which the teacher had just retired before, so I literally walked in and it had pretty much everything in there, so hallelujah, I didn't have to buy as much, so that was just a blessing for me. But even with that, it's kind of overwhelming just to walk into an empty room of, I don't know how to set it up, I don't know what to do, and you think of all these ideas when you're in student teaching and all this thing, but then when you get to the point of standing in front of it, you're like, holy cow, I have to figure out, I don't have help, this is me, this is my classroom, I don't know what to do. So anyway, I would just advise you to look into different classrooms and really, just literally, I just walked into different rooms, took notes, I like that, jot it down, what is it, where'd you get that, or that kind of thing, and then go to the teacher store, get it, and that's that brief overview. And then another really important thing that I've been learning this year is just with behavior, you've got to really focus on building a relationship with the child. And my classroom is really, I have a lot of students who come from really rough homes and situations. I had one student who was new, I didn't really know anything about him. And the first thing he comes in, he's like, "Where are the toys?" And he just starts running around my rug, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know how to control you, I don't know what to do." Like, you're just screaming, yelling, "Where are the toys?" And I'm supposed to know what to do. And that's first year teacher, and you always hear, "Oh, you have crazy stories." And then you're looking at it, and you're like, "I'm the one in charge of you, I don't know what to do with you." But then, so anyway, just be prepared for anything. And like they've been saying, you have no idea what those kids are like, where they come from, but just knowing that you are there for them every single day, and you're the only one in their life who's with them for like 7 hours a day. And just knowing that there's a greater purpose for what you're doing, and that's huge. And with me, like I would stay till 7 o'clock every night the first semester, and I kind of got, not burnt out, but like they were saying, you've got to learn the balance kind of thing. So with that, but then just having that greater purpose in your job is huge, because like if I didn't have the Lord and I knew that I wasn't supposed to be doing this and I didn't have a passion for it, I'd be done. Like there's no way, just because it is overwhelming and there's so much to it. But when you have the Lord and you have that passion for teaching, and you know that there's a greater purpose for what you're doing, then it's just an incredible blessing to be able to teach and be a part of it. So those are mine, because we're out of time pretty much. So I would just say that build a relationship with your students is the main thing that you should do as a teacher, I feel like. So that's my first year.
Our next teacher is Miss Kenler. She teaches at Rosenwald Dunbar Elementary in Jessamine County. She graduated from Asbury in 2008. And this year is her 8th year teaching 3rd grade, and she loves 3rd graders because they are full of personality and growing in their independence.
Well, I would echo everything everybody already said. But one of the biggest things I think that I learned is don't be afraid to ask questions. And like you hear that at Asbury over and over and over, and okay, I'll ask questions. But seriously, there are so many procedures for things in schools that vary from school to school and district to district. Like even down to, I want to order books for my classroom. You have to follow. Or I'm concerned about this kid's behavior and I want to make a behavior chart for him. There are certain steps that you have to follow. So just ask questions all the time, and don't feel like you have to know everything, because I felt that way, and like you kind of feel like, oh, I'm a failure if I have a question. I'm supposed to know everything. I graduated from Asbury. But it's so different doing it in a college classroom and from a textbook, and going into a classroom and teaching one lesson, and then running your own classroom for a whole entire year. So just ask lots of questions, set up lots of routines at the beginning of school. And I think it was Kayla. Okay. And Kayla said, make them practice it over and over and over until they get it right. Do that, because eventually they get tired of it and they're like, okay, we should do this right this time, and we're going to get this. And so, yes, lots and lots of routines, and ask lots of questions. And I think that's 5 to 6.
All right, and our last teacher is Mr.
Cessna.
Cessna.
The kids like to call me Mr. Chestnut the first couple of days. I got Mr. Peanut on one of my papers, actually. One kid totally gave up and wrote Mr. S on another paper. All right. I'm just going to go to my Google Drive real quick, because I took some pictures of my classroom today, and I whipped together like a super quick slideshow. Oh my gosh, hold on. Technology, yeah. Okay.
I always prepared for it not to work.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, when you really need it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Google Drive. Now, luckily, I teach in Jessamine County, and so we have a district-wide Google Drive thing. Oh, I'm on Helen's Google Drive. Miss Rader, can I log out of yours?
Yes,
Is that all right?
absolutely.
Hold on. Oh, I need to go to settings. See? Look at me. All right.
We're real impressed, Matt.
Oh, okay, picture. There we go. Oh, that was Korean. Hold on. Sign with a different account. There we go. I'm going to add an account. Sorry, guys. This will be really quick, but a picture's worth 1,000 words, as they say. Okay, yeah, this is the fun part. We get to do it twice. Yes, get ready for obnoxiously long emails. And forgetting your own password. Hold on, I messed it up. Hold on, what's up? Okay. Go to my account. No, hold on. No, here, this thing. Drive, there we go. Wow, this is like a tutorial on life. Okay, okay, what did I call this?
Over on the right
Asbury. Oh yeah, here it is. I made it purple because, yeah, you know. So just a couple of things here. So I'll just walk you through. This is a tour of Mr. Sess's classroom. I teach 6th grade geography, and hold on, notes on my phone. Let me go through these real quick because I know we have 4 minutes. First thing I want to say before I get to the pictures is one of the best pieces of advice I got when I was in my senior year at Asbury was to spread my net wide. So guys, seriously, I mean, I know in some circumstances you're kind of locked into a certain geographic location as far as where you're applying, but if you're not, and I was like single, like I grew up in Wilmore, so part of me was like, sure, I'll go live somewhere out in the sticks of Kentucky. So I just applied everywhere because you have to keep in mind, you know, a lot of people are applying for these jobs. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4 interviews. So if you get an interview, that's a good sign. I had 4 interviews. I didn't get the jobs. My 5th interview was in Somerset, Kentucky, and I got the job, and I was about to move to Somerset, Kentucky, and then the next day, I got my 6th interview that was closer to home, and so I got that. So be prepared for, you know, some discouragement times where you think, am I going to get a job my first year? Even if you don't, you know, there opportunities will open up. So advice, if you can spread your net wide, please do so, because a job is out there somewhere. It may be in Somerset, Kentucky, but just get ready. Hold on. Now, here's my classroom. This is the board. Now, one other piece of advice I have for you is, you know, you want your classroom to be student-friendly, but at the end of the day, guess who has to spend the most time in your classroom? You. So you want it to be nice and comfortable for you. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Yes. You want to add some personal touches. Now, this is not an interior design session, but I am going to tell you a couple of things. If you're not type A, you want to learn to be a little bit more type A. That's my first little thing. Now, one of my personal touches, you'll see in the top right-hand corner, there's a little monkey right here. So we have these visitors from Hong Kong, and I teach geography, so I love to decorate with things from around the world. So I always have a word wall, so what we're learning, so we just had our unit on maths, basically. The fan was a gift from the Hong Kong visitors, which the kids got to interact with them, so I put that up. You know, some things from around the world, from my travels. Miss Raider, I got this in 2007 in Korea when I went to spend Thanksgiving with the Raiders, actually, when I was still in high school. Throwback, 2007. You want to have your on the floor. On the floor. It gets worse. It's in between class changes. We had just played a review game for a test in which the winning team got a Snickers bar the class before. So I'm sitting at the door, welcome to class everybody. I always stand at your door and give them a greeting because they like that. And then all of a sudden I hear, Mr. Cessna, someone pooped on the floor. No, that's a Snickers bar. We played a game. Then, all of a sudden, 1 minute later, Mr. Cessna, I think I just stepped in poop. Oh my gosh. No, that's a Snickers bar. Hey, you go get the Clorox wipes out of my cabinet and start cleaning that up. I'll be there in just a second. So, you know, they're 6th graders. They're just, you know, being funny. So I get over there, and Katie is a sweet little girl. Imagine it. Kind of about this tall, blonde hair, those glasses with a really thick prescription that make their eyes look all big and googly. And I'm like, okay, Katie, throw me a Clorox wipe. I'll get down. So I get down. This is a true story. I get down, and I'm like, Katie's already, she's over here. The girl who stepped in it. God bless her, but she's over here like, it's coming up, Mr. Simpson. And so I'm like, I get right here, and all of a sudden, a waft of poo. It's my nostrils. 2 seconds later, kid comes barreling up to me. I really have to go to the bathroom. Go, it's an emergency. And then in my brain, okay, let's go to the bathroom. This kid has chewed gum off the bottom of my desk before. Okay, Katie steps in this, and then I realize this kid turns to me and goes, Mr. Cessna, that was, and I saw that come out of the bottom of his gym shorts. So, this is a true story. Class has to be evacuated and sanitized, so I lose that whole class. So be prepared for those things. My principal, not to scare you, but my principal was like, I have been in education for 20 years and that has never happened. So there will be some things where you don't know what to do, and you have to use your gut instinct to guide you, and it will pull you through. Yes, but make deposits in those kids. Katie, that girl who stepped in it, is actually my student aide this year, and so in that same class that was my last class of the day, you will learn quickly if you have the last class of the day